What's going on, guys? So today's guest is a law student. She's looking to dip her toes in the world of law and order and courts and judges and all those different types of things. So we talk about how she can, make the world a better place, make the state a better place, what kind of law she's getting into, and many other topics. So here she is. This is episode 67. Carol Thompson. It's my foundation. It's my faith. It's my work ethic. It's my drive. It's everything that I've tried to build for myself that has made me who I am.
I'll do what it takes to make you believe.
I actually don't know anyone who's tested positive, which is, interesting for how many cases there are, but,
Yeah, we know actually a couple people, actually a lot of people, and most of them were doing everything you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're supposed to, wearing the mask, and they were actually wearing gloves too, and they were doing social distancing, and they still ended up with it again, So I was just like, all right, so what are we doing?
I know. I think that's the scary part about it is like you really have. I don't think we actually know.
No.
So,
unfortunately, and I think we're doing the best we can,
Absolutely.
That's really all you can do.
So, how are you?
I'm doing well. I just working. I do security at a bank.
Okay.
So I do that just for my everyday job, and then I run a business online, which I sell supplements.
Okay.
So I do that, and then I do the podcast. I've been doing this about over a year.
Yeah, I've seen a few of your episodes.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, I watched the one with your dad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I saw him the other day, or 2 weekends ago, actually.
Oh, really? Where at?
He was shooting a wedding for my boyfriend's cousin.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Well, Delaware is so small.
Yeah. That's wild. What have you been doing?
Just in my third year of law school. It's all online, so it's definitely been a learning curve. Trying to do the exact amount of work, but having, only online lectures has been really interesting. At first it was kind of novel and I liked it because it was like, oh, I don't have to drive to campus every day and sit in traffic. And then it just got old pretty quickly. So
how's that going if you have to do it online? Is it easier for you or harder or what?
So in terms of my schedule, it's a lot nicer because I'm sorry, I have a puppy and she's whining and I don't know why. But yeah, so in terms of my schedule, I don't have to drive to and from campus every day, which is very nice because this semester I only have one class a day. So it would feel wasteful to me if I was driving to school for just an hour and 20-minute class. So for me personally, I like it. But I know for some people, the learning style is different. So you kind of need to hear it. You need to see it. You need to be able to write it down, have those kind of in-person discussions. And what I found with my law professors, they kind of just lecture on Zoom. There's not a lot of interaction. Some of them try to do like breakout groups and ask discussion questions that way. And I always find that those are helpful, but it doesn't happen very often. So yeah. It's definitely a lot different than my normal everyday law school experience.
Right. Sorry to interrupt this episode, but I just want you to stop searching for what supplement that you need to take. Go to stnutrition.com, hit the chat button, and we'll give you options that will help you reach your goals more efficiently. Strong Tower Nutrition carries brands like Accent Sledge, Dymatize, and Run Everything Labs. So we want to offer you, podcast listeners, 10% off for when you use the code STRONG. This code is only exclusive to you guys, so use it while you can. And we want you to be the fittest and healthiest you've ever been. So visit stnutrition.com to get what you need. Let's get back to episode 67 with Carol Thompson. So you said your third year. How long do you have to be? How long is law school?
It's 3 years.
Oh,
So I'm in
really?
my last year. Sometimes it can take 4 if you do extended division. So that would be like going at night. I decided to go full time just so I could get it done. And I'm living at home, so I'm saving a lot of money by doing that. I look to go to school in Virginia, but it's actually a really good thing that I came home because I got a scholarship and I got to live at home and save money because law school is really expensive. So,
Right. Yeah, and it's funny because so we were at UPenn the other day because my wife gets all her like medical stuff done there, and I overheard a lady like yelling on the phone about like we can't we can't learn online and stuff like that. The stuff that we have to do, we can't learn online. And I was like, I didn't never thought of that. Like, think about the people like you, like lawyers and doctors and neurologists and those kind of studies. It's just like, how are you supposed to do that online when those are very like hands-on type things and very like you have to learn like in person? Is it harder for you
yeah.
to learn?
Especially in your third year of law school, a lot of the
Yeah.
courses are designed to get you up in front of a judge or a mock like kind of judge. A lot of the pre-trial method classes were a lot of like mock trial things. So it is definitely harder. I'm in a bankruptcy course this semester, and most of the course was supposed to be writing bankruptcy motions and arguing them. That's how it had been done traditionally in the past. But since we can't be in person, we've been doing them on Zoom, which again, you can still do it, but it's not, you don't have to be standing in front of a judge. You don't have to be, thinking on your feet as much because, you have a little bit of, it's a little bit of a barrier almost to arguing because, sometimes connections don't work or they miss what you said and you have to repeat yourself. And whereas in an actual oral argument, you only have a certain amount of time. And so it's definitely different. And it sucks for people who are third year law students because we are missing those opportunities.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing an externship in the courthouse this fall, and we're doing kind of a every other week schedule right now. And even that, they're not really having trials. They're not having things that we can go and see and kind of observe. So it's definitely making our experiential learning a lot different.
Yeah.
My friend is actually, like I said before, she's working at McGee Hospital in Philadelphia
Right.
as a second year occupational therapist. So she's in her last clinical rotation and she's been able to do it in person, but she's working there 10 hours a day. She has to like have the N95 mask on, a lot of precautions. And still it's like they're letting that happen. But, with law school, it's like, okay, well, we know we can do these hearings on Zoom. So we can do that. Whereas for OT students and like medical students, they have to be in person. There's not, you can't do anything like
Right.
that through
Yeah.
Zoom. So it's definitely different.
Are they? Do you know if like they're doing actual court sessions on Zoom? Is that what they're doing it on Zoom? Like actual?
Yeah. So the judge that I'm working for, she runs the mental health court in Delaware, and so she has Zoom hearings. I attended one 2 weeks ago, and it was definitely different. But the mental health court is a little bit different because it's a lot of just like checking up on the defendants, and so it's pretty official. They have it in the courtroom. There's a court reporter, so they try very hard to do it in a way that protects the process. So not only do they have a court reporter, but they also record the session and have it transcripted so that there's a record of the hearing. So far, I haven't seen any jury trials, but they were supposed to start them again this October, and then kind of do like a limited, like spaced out, kind of set up. And in the courtroom, they're doing like plexiglass between the defendant and the state side. for the defendant and the plaintiff side. And also the judge and the court reporters all have like a plexiglass thing. So they're trying. But as far as like the normal jury trial process, I can't see it going back to normal anytime soon.
Wow.
So
That's crazy. So what was your first initial like thought into being a lawyer? Like why that?
So originally, I wanted to go to school for psychology, and that's what I did. So I got my degree in psychology, but my stepdad was a lawyer, and it all sounded really interesting, and I felt like that's something that like really really interested me. So I was like, okay, like maybe I can use both my psych degree and my law, like a law degree. And so I knew kind of going into it that I really was interested in criminal law, and specifically the mental health of defendants and why so many people, especially with substance abuse issues, like why they continue to commit crimes. And so I kind of wanted to use like that background of like understanding substance abuse and mental health issues and how it relates to crime. And so I was keeping my mind open to what, if there was anything else, any other area of the law I liked. So I was also interested in family, and I ended up really liking property too. But I worked with the Department of Justice in Delaware this summer, and I know that criminal law is where I want to be. So now I've kind of found the area of the law that I really want to work in. And I think my psych degree and that background will really help me in that area. So,
Man, that's gonna be like almost like one of those like documentaries that you see. You know what I mean? You ever watch those and try and like figure it out yourself?
yeah, the ones on Netflix are pretty interesting. And I've always liked crime documentaries, and that's probably why I liked criminal law so much.
Yeah.
It also kind of, it was always interesting to me, and I felt like that's how my brain worked. Some people can really work with blood, and some people can work with like people. And I was like, you know what, English has always been my strong suit. I've always liked writing papers. I've always liked doing research. So it's definitely, a little bit more glorified when you're talking about, even the documentaries are a little bit more glorified than the
Right.
actual process. But it is really interesting. And something I really liked about criminal law and working with the DOJ this summer was that every case was different. And so every single time there was something new to work on, and a new, like, interesting issue that, I had to figure out how the law would handle it. And so it's definitely, the detective part of it, like the side where they like investigate, is really interesting to me too, but that's definitely a different pathway, and
Yeah.
something that I probably wouldn't end up in. But
But it's something like, I don't know how this works. So do you decide to be a prosecutor or like for the bad people? You know what I mean? Or how's that work?
yes. So a lot of it has to do with how you network throughout law school. So my first summer, I worked for the judge I'm actually working for now. I played field hockey with her daughter. So
Oh,
honestly,
there
like,
you go.
Delaware is such a small place, and honestly, those connections are so important. So it was really like great. I went throughout high school with her daughter, so we knew each other, and she offered me a position there, just like being an intern, and that really helped me for this next summer. So this past summer, I was able to have references from her to get in with the DOJ. And I wanted to just see if prosecution is something that I'd be interested in doing. I do really think that criminal law is where I want to be. Whether or not I decide to be a prosecutor or a defense attorney is kind of up in the air, but definitely having those experiences and doing well in your internship will help you be noticed. So if I were like to decide I wanted to be a prosecutor, I would probably just, once I take the bar, or at the end of this next semester, start applying there. I have a job lined up, so I'm working for a different judge for a whole year, and then once that's up, I'll start looking for a job permanently. I'm hoping that once I do a year with the judge in the Superior Court, as a clerk, just doing research and writing and stuff like that, then I'll know exactly which side I want to be on, and then I'll start to apply to either the DOJ or maybe like a smaller defense firm. But you do get to kind of choose, and obviously your resume will help you, and as long as you're, applying yourself and doing internships, you should be able to find a job in the area that you want to be in. But the corporate world's a little bit different. A lot of the times you're just like an associate, and they put you on whatever, and you're working like 15, 16 hours a day, just like grinding for the partners if you want to end up being a partner. So corporate law is a little bit different, because there's also like, you could do either a private firm with the defense attorneys, or you could do like a public defender for a few years, or, just to get some experience. So there's a lot of different options, which is nice. And that's what I really liked about the legal field in general. So
yeah. What kind of did something like inspire you? Like, was it because your stepdad did it, or is it because seeing what being a lawyer takes? I think I would start it and be like, nah, I don't want to do this. It's too much. You know what I mean? Because it seems like a lot.
It's definitely a lot. So yeah, I mean, my stepdad being a lawyer and like liking what he did was definitely an inspiration to me, because he kind of found the like small area of the law that it's not a small area of the law, but the law that he really liked. So he's in the trust world. So he really likes that kind of work, and he loved it. And I was like, okay, well, that's not exactly what I want to do, but I knew that if I went to law school, it would open a lot of doors for me. And trust me, I went through the whole, this is really hard. This is too hard. Do I like want to do this? Yeah. And honestly, I can't even confidently say that I knew that I liked being in law school until at least this year, or the end of last year, which is 2 full years in law school. And I was still like not sure I liked it. And it wasn't really so much that I didn't like what I was doing, but I always felt unsure, because there's a lot of people in law school who, whether that it's real or it's fake, they like to pretend they have all of this, their stuff together, and they're really like, doing well. But I think there's a lot of like facades in the legal world, especially in law school. Whether it actually translates to the real world, I can't speak to yet. But in law school, there's a lot of people who just, pretend that they're not struggling. And it's like, okay, but how? Because we had to read 600 pages in this last week. Like, how did you do it? So
that's crazy. Do you have like a like lawyer that you kind of aspire to be like, or have you seen anyone in their profession, or just in the courtroom, and just see them work, and you just like, oh, I want to be like that? Is there anyone like that?
Yeah, so the judge I'm working for in the Superior Court, she's amazing. You can always tell that she's really listening to the parties and listening to the defendant, specifically like in the criminal world. When you're watching her, you can hear that she's like empathetic, but she's also like she's also going to like apply the law the way it's supposed to be applied. She's not going to mess around, but she's also going to be empathetic to the fact that like people are people. Like the justice system sometimes treats people as just another like thing in the system. And what I really like about the judge I'm working for is that she doesn't do that. And she treats everybody as if their case is unique, which it is. And I'm not saying that other judges in Delaware don't do that, but just because I've worked so closely with her, I understand like that she does stick out. And also being head of the mental health court, she like also takes into consideration that, a defendant's mental health is important. And if there's a reason or a reoccurring, like maybe trauma or like an abuse, and that's why they commit crime, she takes all of these factors into account. And, I think with judges in Delaware being appointed, you have a better chance of like having judges who are like that versus if they're elected, because, elections kind of breed corruption. And so I think Delaware's system in general, because they're appointed and there's a specific term limit, and they have a really like unique process for how judges get to the bench. I think that really helps. And that's what kind of makes Delaware's jurisdiction so unique. But yeah, so the judge I'm working for, I have gotten to know and I've learned a lot. And I would love to emulate like the type of lawyer that and judge that she is. If I were ever to get on the bench, I would want to be exactly like her. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's great too because I think that's a big problem. Is a lot of either lawyers or judges, they see people come in and they just try to book them. You know what I mean? Oh, they did something with drugs and whatever. They just did something. All right, that's 5 years for whatever. For something small that could be easily
yeah.
be fixed. They don't give it time to actually think about what this person's mental health is, what their drug use addiction is, and things like that. Where if they just, if they were able to talk to someone, if they were able to get that situation under control or that addiction under control, they would be a totally different person.
Absolutely.
And I think that's part of a lot of what we're going right now. Like for me, I'm not a big fan of the justice system. I don't trust it at all.
Yeah.
And I'm a white male. So you think I would, but I really, I really don't. And
I completely understand.
And that's a scary thing. You know? And again, it's not everyone. But there's particular people when they have a say and when there's money involved and, just a lot of times I've seen enough documentaries and I've heard enough stories where it just it kind of scares you.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. And, it's kind of like a running joke that I hear sometimes between law students, and they're like, oh, you're going to be like the progressive prosecutor. And people are like, haha, like good luck. Like, because, there's a lot of prosecutors out there who will just go completely, toward the fullest extent of the law. They won't take into consideration any of the other surrounding circumstances, whether somebody, was fearing for their life and had to do something because they were in fear of their life. Like there's a lot of things that prosecutors don't take into consideration. And, that's one of the things that obviously if I were to become a prosecutor, that I would want to be the type of person that considers all the factors and doesn't, go after petty drug charges. And I do think, having worked in the DOJ, that in Delaware specifically, there are a lot of prosecutors who are progressive, forward thinking. And our attorney general, who was voted in 2018, she's great. I think she wants to do a lot of work with criminal justice reform. That's kind of the platform that she ran on, and it's why I voted for her. And so, you'd hope to see, in our state, I believe that our criminal justice system, for the most part, works as it's intended to, but you can't say that for other states. And it is a little bit different because Delaware is so small. And so we do have a little bit different of a processing, whereas in bigger states, I think that it just becomes just a wheel, and people are just working in their system and they just want to get it processed. So I agree that I think that people don't take the time to really consider what they're going after, why they're doing it. Because some crimes, like you said, people, they would be okay if they just got the help that they needed. And that's what I really like about Delaware's mental health court, is that they do kind of identify defendants who would benefit from having somebody say, look, I'm going to take an interest in your well-being and I'm going to help you get the resources that you need. So.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's been anything in your life that has kind of prepared you for this? You know what I mean?
That's a good question. This is going to sound crazy, but I always used to say that Red Lion's education, at least when we were there, really helped prepare me for the amount of reading, the amount of writing, the grammar, the way that we were taught grammar and writing and research, at least in my experience, really prepared me, one, to go to college, and two, to be in law school. Obviously, I always liked English, so maybe taking an interest in that helped me too. But I just felt like the teachers I had at Red Lion really cared about us learning just the minute things about grammar that not a lot of people know of now. And so that education definitely really helped. And obviously I have my mom to thank for that, because she sacrificed a lot to help me go to Red Lion my entire life. And so, yeah, definitely that. And then I would say that probably sports helped me for just the time management and the just absolute grit that you need to get through law school. So it's different than getting up at 5 a.m. and working out with your teammates, but setting a goal and reaching it was something that, I was drilled into my brain when I was a collegiate athlete. And so I do have to say that those two things really prepared me for the amount of work, for the amount of, just everything that it takes to get through law school. I was really well prepared, I think, through those things. So,
Where did you go to college for like your bachelor's?
Christopher Newport University. It's in Newport News, Virginia.
Okay, and you played field hockey there?
Yeah.
Did you get a scholarship or anything, or you just like walked on?
No, it was a D3 school, and yeah, so I found the school late in my recruiting career. So there I was looking at York College of Pennsylvania and Lynchburg in Virginia. And I actually got kind of, I guess, cut from the recruiting process from Lynchburg. And spiteful me was like, wait, okay. So my stepdad and my mom and I all looked at like the records of like what schools play Lynchburg. It sounds so petty.
Dang,
but we were like, okay. I was like, you know what? Like, if you don't want me, like, I'm going to prove it. And so we found Christopher Newport. They consistently beat Lynchburg on like a regular basis. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try. And unfortunately, their recruiting class was full by that time. So they were like, look, like we've seen you play. We like your recruiting video. Like, you can try to walk on. And so that's what I did. I worked my butt off over the summer before I went in. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to, work as hard as I can and try to get on this team. And I ended up I ended up playing the first game, and then I ended up starting my freshman year. And it was like, I just wanted to laugh in the coach's face at Lynchburg. She was like, she basically told me I wasn't good enough to play there. And then I ended up playing for a team that like would consistently beat them. And I was like, yes.
Did they know who you were at all, or no?
Yeah, so Enza Steele, she was the head coach then. She like said something to my coach freshman year after our Lynchburg game, because we beat them 3-0, and I was starting by that point in the season. And she like said something to my coach. I can't remember now, and honestly, I think my mom would know. And unfortunately she's not here for me to ask her, but I remember her like making a comment about me to my coach, and I was like, yes.
That's awesome, man.
It was it was an interesting story, and it's just funny because my parents were like, you know what, like I was devastated. Like I really wanted to play college field hockey. I loved the sport. I played, year round for 5 years before that. So I was really upset, and my parents were like, no, like we're not letting this happen. And so we contacted the coach, and it was on, and all in all, it became like one of the best experiences. I loved the school. I loved the campus. Like as soon as I stepped foot on that campus, I knew that if I played field hockey or not, it's where I wanted to be. But I ended up, luckily, thankfully, being able to play all 4 years. And it was one of the things that we worked towards was a conference championship, because our team had never had one. They had been in the NCAA tournament for like 10 years straight. Like they were always really good, always had a winning season, but we could not get a championship until my senior year. We won the championship, and it was like the best feeling in the world. So.
Oh, that's cool. How much of a jump is from high school to D3? Is there a lot, or like is it similar?
Yeah, so and a lot of people say that like Division III is like not as competitive, or they try to like play it down because it's not a Division I school, but really divisions are just based on how many people go to the school, so it's like kind of stupid. But so no, there's no scholarships in D3, but it's a very competitive type of atmosphere. And so from Red Lion specifically, like I know some high schools are very competitive, but Red Lion, wasn't as competitive in field hockey. So the structure, just like the structure of having a coach who had played, the structure of having like a very organized like system of how she ran things, because she coached there for 10 years or maybe 11 years before I got there. And so she kind of had a system, and it really worked for her. And so, yeah, it was definitely a lot more running. We had like weight training, which I had never in my life like weight trained before. So that was definitely new. Like I went into school, I think my freshman year of college, I was 99 pounds. After the first year, I was like 120. I was like, I gained so much weight, but it was all muscle because we actually like lifted and like, and that was really like for the first time I started really liking strength training and fitness. And so, that aspect of it made me such a better player, because I used to be able, like, I was really quick and I, could get around people, but as soon as there was like a body to me, I was like on the ground because I didn't have a lot of balance and I didn't have a lot of strength in my legs. And so just those things like really made me into a better player, I think. And that really helped. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm even telling that to my nephews now. I got two that are entering high school. So one lives in Jersey, and then the other is a freshman at St. Mark's.
Okay.
So for him, he's a baseball player, and I'm like, dude, even with baseball, you need to weight train. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you don't see a lot of baseball players. They all look fat and lazy. A
Yeah.
lot of, so it's just like, I'm telling you, you'll be a so much better athlete when you're training, and it gives you that edge above everyone else, because no one else in high school is going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it'll get you that edge when you're looking to play in college.
I mean, when I was I think I was a junior or senior in high school, I decided I wanted to lift with the football team. So after practice, I would go and train with the football team. I was the only soccer player to do that.
Yeah.
And I saw it. I continually got better, and I started getting bigger, and then that's how I got into kind of personal training a little bit, because I wanted to be like that strength and conditioning coach that I had.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do his job. How do I get to do that?
Yeah.
And then luckily later down the road I got to do that. But what kind of weight training do you remember? Like, what kind of weight training you did? Was it specific to field hockey?
Yeah, so we did a lot of lower body, and we still did full body stuff. So there was like a lot of the stuff we did was like squat, like RDL, type front squat type of like really like heavy on the legs, just because you need that when you're like getting low in field hockey. But we also did a lot of core strength. So like before every single workout, we would do like 8 or 10 exercises. So like ever many reps he had on the board, we would do those like first, or sometimes we'd do them last. It kind of depended on like what he wanted us to do. But a lot of it was, 3 days a week we were hitting legs, and then, but we were also always hitting full body in those workouts. So like, even if it was leg heavy, we would still have some kind of like tricep work, or, like bench press or something. Like we would do that in the, so I was always feeling like really sore everywhere. But something I didn't really understand, and nobody had like really talked to me about my freshman year, was like how important it was to like eat a lot of protein afterwards. And so like my freshman year, I was always like sore, and I was like getting injured because I like wasn't eating enough. I was like lifting all these heavy weights, but I was like never eating enough to like keep up with it. So sophomore year, because we always had like the on season, which was in the fall, and then spring season was like the really heavy like weight training. And so finally I started like eating more, like protein first of all, but then just in general, like intake and calories. And that's when I saw I got faster, I was stronger. It was, sophomore year was like when I really took all of it very seriously. And I was like trying to go up in weight every week. Like he was saying 5 pounds, I was trying to hit 10. Like that was when I was at my best, was like trying to push myself every time. And it was sophomore year was the same. It was still like pretty leg heavy, but there were still some smaller, like lower weight, but higher rep things with our arms. So,
So was it, because I know it's D3 and they're not going to have like a whole, like a actual weight training coach and a nutritionist and all that.
Well, we did have a weight training coach, so we
Oh,
did
you
have.
did? Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have a nutritionist, so like nobody ever. I mean, my coach was kind of trying to be that for us, like, but she was vegan, so like for her,
Oh,
she like tried to get us to eat really healthy, but like
yeah, it's
nobody
tough.
wanted to be vegan too.
Yeah.
So like, and that's not good for your body as an athlete. So like we would eat like really healthy stuff, but she would like always make sure we were fed. Like we
Yeah.
weren't, so we never were starving, but um, yeah, we never had like somebody come and be like, this is what you need if you're doing this, like, and which I kind of wish I had, but I looked into it myself my sophomore year, and that's kind of when I started to like drink protein shakes after working out, and then like eating small snacks throughout the day, and then having like a nice like big dinner and like whatever. So
So
I
did that like athlete lifestyle stick with you after, or like do you do that stuff now? Like, are you working out and stuff like that, or no?
so I'm definitely working out. This summer was like really really hard for me. I I was working out at Retro for a long time in Bear, and
Then they
I liked
closed.
it, but the equipment was old. It was starting to get like kind of dingy, and like I started to hate working out there. Um, so I started, and obviously post Corona, it's like different, but I started using this app that's free, and they have like a bunch of different categories. So now I'm doing more like less strength training and more like full body, more like Pilates type stuff,
Okay.
which I like it. I do miss strength training, and at some point when I'm making money and I'm not like a student anymore, I'll
Right.
probably hit a gym.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm just trying to get my body moving because for a couple months there, I was just like too emotionally like not good. So I was like, okay, like I just need to move, like
Yeah.
get my body moving, whether that's walking or whether, I have a healthier relationship with exercise because before it was like, it was never like unhealthy, but it was like always stressful because I felt like I had to do it or else I was going to lose my spot.
Yeah.
And that would kind of make me hate it. So once I changed my mindset about like, it's like, no, exercise is a gift for your body, that kind of started to make it a priority as opposed to something I felt like I had to do because I like either didn't want to get fat or it didn't like whatever the case was. It was like not ever a healthy way of thinking about it.
Right.
Which you'd think like having been an athlete for so long and having such a healthy like routine that I would have kept it, but law school was stressful
Oh,
and
of
life was
course.
stressful, and I was kind of like trying to figure out how to stop, like having been an athlete for 10 years and then having it just like stop so abruptly was a really weird hard transition for me. But I definitely think I'm working towards making it a priority as because it's like good for my body as opposed to being like I have to do it, so
Right. I mean, I was the same way. You know, from being an athlete and doing things constantly. Like always at a practice of some sort. Always doing
yeah.
something. And then you finish high school, and then for me, I didn't go to college, so I went straight into working. I
Yeah.
was just working full time, and I just noticed myself getting fat. And I was like, all right, I want to get back into, so I started working out here and there. It wasn't the same, but then along the lines, I found I went to school for personal training. I did all that stuff, and then I ended up bodybuilding, did all that. And then, so when I was bodybuilding, I was training at a different level that I've never trained before in my life, like an
Yeah.
animal. That was all in my
Yeah.
head. Bodybuilding, I ate, slept, everything, just bodybuilding. That's what my life
Yeah.
would consist of. So, and then now, it's just like, sometimes I'm like, I have to work out like that. But I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, no, what am I doing? I don't need to work out like that. It's just, it's kind of hard mentally to like find what you're supposed to do now. Like, what's going to work for me now?
Yeah.
Because I really hated when people used to say, or people still say it, like, I looked the best when I was in high school, when I was playing, and I was an athlete, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say I looked the best in high school.
Yeah, I feel that.
You know what
I,
I mean?
I say the same thing about college, but yeah, and something that you bring up a good point. It's like I looked my best when I was doing this. Well, like life changes so much. Like there's so many factors, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe you looked good in high school because you didn't have to worry about you didn't have to worry about working. You didn't have to worry about where your food was coming from. Like you didn't have to like cook for yourself. Like you literally had like all of these things handed to you because you were, being taken care of, and now you're taking care of yourself, and it looks different. And also we're adults now. Like that's the other thing that, I used to be like, oh, I looked so good in high school, but like I was a child. Like I like my body now. Like I'm like, because I'm stronger. I'm more fit for my age. Like you kind of have to start thinking about it in terms of what's working at your age. And as long as you're doing something, like exercise, it needs to be a part of your daily routine. It doesn't have to be like your entire life, which I think as athletes, we can both agree that it feels like it has to be, it's like all or nothing, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So. And it's not just physical. I preach to people all the time. Like I can't stress it. I sound like a broken record. Like I can't talk enough about how it helps you mentally. Because, just like what you're going to be going into and stuff is like all about mental health and how to help people with that, rather than just popping a pill and getting on drugs.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of, trying to get people to exercise. You don't have to bench press. You don't have to, lift weights. Do any kind of exercise. It's and challenge yourself. If you challenge yourself at something, you're going to see how much you grow, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually even, And I don't know. It's just something that I'm very passionate about, because people, just being a trainer, I saw it all the time. And that's what made me kind of stop training people is everyone wants to lose weight, right? Yeah. Everyone, I want to lose this many pounds, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, but that's going to be over time. You got to have a short-term goal here, you know what I mean? You got to figure out what's going to help you get through that, to reach that long-term goal. Because if you don't have that, you're going to quit, which a lot of people did. A lot of people quit after less than a month. And, it kind of just like deterred me from wanting to train people for weight loss. So now what I do, I train athletes. Mm-hmm. So I train an MMA fighter who's currently trying to find her first pro fight. Okay. And then I am trying to I have 3 other, so one's a kid. I think he's like 16 or something. And he wants to fight. So I'm going to, probably work with him. And there's a couple other people. And that's what's fun for me is like, because athletes know what they want. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because you know what the goal is, and you know what you need, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas someone that wants to lose weight, they're like, they're like tiptoeing around it. Yeah. If they really want to do it or not.
Well, and I think that goes back to like the athlete mentality. Like I feel like I'm sure maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if you had a retired athlete who wanted to lose weight, it'd be a lot easier because they know like what it means to set a goal and know that like goals don't happen overnight. I mean, for me specifically, like our CAC goal took 4 years. Like it took 4 years of, getting to the championship and losing in overtime every single time to come back and win in overtime. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm sure for people who just, let themselves go and were never either athletes or never really like set a goal and accomplished it in a way that was like, meaningful, it's probably a lot harder. I can't even imagine how to motivate people like that because it's like, it's like you have to want it and you have to set up things along the way to get there. And, some people aren't in it for the long run. So I can't imagine how frustrating that must be.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw some pictures that you got a new dog.
I did. Yeah. Yes.
So how's that been for you?
So everything people say about getting a puppy is true. Yep. It's hard. It's harder than they even prepare you for.
Of course.
But she and we got the most energetic breed. It's a German short-haired pointer. So she's a like small game type of hunting dog, sporting dog type thing. So she will be, I guess she's 10 weeks now. We got her when she was 8 weeks. She is full of energy. But she's learning. She can sit, she can lay down, she can get in her bed. She sleeps pretty much through the night. Sometimes she has to get out to pee, but she does that pretty well.
Yeah.
So as opposed to the first couple nights when we tried to put her in the crate, she was like screaming her head off, freaking out. But yeah, no, she's really fun. This is my first dog. I've never had a dog before. That was my own.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so I'm, she's been helping me a lot emotionally too, just having a little furry companion friend. So it's been going well.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like having the dog like be there at the door, like waiting for you when you get home. Like when I come home at night and my dog's like at the door, I'm like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
But doesn't your dog have like a unique name? What did you name her?
Her name's Shia LaScruff.
Shia LaScruff. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, we liked the name Shia, and my boyfriend's favorite actor, Shia LaBeouf. So I jokingly was like, we're gonna name her Shia LaScruff, and then Shia stuck. And it's actually, we don't know a lot of dogs named Shia.
Yeah.
I don't know any dogs named Shia, so.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's like we named ours Ziva. And
I like
Ziva,
that name.
she's a character on NCIS, and she's like a badass, like she's a tough woman to deal with and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and my wife loves that character, so she was like, "Oh, we're gonna name our dog Ziva." I was like, "All right, I'm good with that." And it's
What kind of
unique.
dog is your dog?
She's a Rottweiler mix, and we think she's mixed with like Australian Shepherd or something like that.
Okay, yeah, she's a little fluffy. I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, but definitely, I mean, she has a lot of Rottweiler.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah, I mean, we adopted her. I think she was 8 weeks. I'm pretty sure, and we had her for about like 3 days, and she got sick.
Oh.
So I thought I did something to it because I got her a new bone that had like peanut butter in it, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she's gonna be so excited to have this, and then she started eating it, but then she wasn't eating it anymore. And then I was like, after a couple of days, she just wasn't eating at all. She wasn't eating or drinking. So we took her to the vet. The vet kept saying, okay, she tested negative for parvo. So I don't know if you know what parvo is. Mm-mm. It's like a disease that's very like kind of contagious to puppies. Like puppies can die from it.
Yeah.
Like it's that bad. I think if an older dog gets it, it's just like they give them something and they can get rid of it. But for puppies, they can die. And after just having her for 3 days, we were very attached already. Like we loved her to death, And so yeah, I mean, we went to 3 different vets.
Oh my gosh.
So our regular vet and then 2 emergency vets, and then the third vet we went to was an emergency vet out in Newcastle, and we took her there, and they were like, we need to take her in right now. We were like, what? So I know it was sad. I'm
getting upset right now.
So yeah,
she's okay though.
Yeah, she's okay now, but she was hospitalized for a week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we were getting calls every single night about how she was doing and stuff, and we were just praying. And I would be at work because back then I worked at a supplement shop, and I would just be sitting there like hoping no one came in, and I would be crying, and just thinking about it, and it was just I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Yeah. It was awful,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like your kid at that point.
Yeah. Oh, I completely. And I mean, I knew I've always wanted a dog, so I knew it was going to be like that. But like, I can't imagine. That's the scariest thing ever. Like, I can't believe you had to go through that as especially at 3 days having her. I mean, that's that's nightmare fuel.
Yeah. But the thing I tell my wife, I was like, I would do it all over again, spending the money, all that kind of stuff. And whatever. I would just do it again if I had to for her.
I completely understand that.
Yeah. But what kind of stuff do you do with her? Because I mean, she's still young, so you don't really take her too many places, right?
No, there's a park right really close to my boyfriend's house in Smyrna. I think it's called like Oakland or Oakfield or something like that. And so I just take her out there and run with her
Yeah.
because she is like so high energy that
Yeah.
she needs to run. And so I'll take her and I'll keep her on the leash, but I'll run, like I'll sprint, like get some like exercise in, and like I'll do a sprint and she'll just be like following me.
Right.
So that's the most thing that we've done with her so far. We took her to Lumps Pond Dog Park as well. I think the like second weekend we had her, and she's really good with other dogs. She's really good with other people. She's really good with kids. I'm like, okay, so she's showing me all the signs of like a really good dog, which is good because the scariest thing is like having a dog that bites people or has a
Yeah.
dog that like runs away, but she has like a healthy fear of like being too far from us. So like if she gets out of our sight, she'll like come looking for us, which is good. So yeah, I mean, so far she really likes tug of war, but she'll chew anything, like she'll tug of war with anything that's like she's not supposed to have. Like earlier, she was trying to like tug of war with my like
Oh.
computer charger.
Yeah.
I was like, "You're gonna get electrocuted. Please don't do that."
Yeah,
But
that's the tough stuff, man. When they have to like, you got to put stuff up, and you don't know what they're gonna go for, and
yeah,
I don't miss those days.
yeah. Well, and she's already gotten bigger. We've only had her for it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. So she's already gotten bigger, which I mean, I personally love her at this little phase because she's
Yeah.
really soft and she likes to cuddle. And Kevin's like, I can't wait for her to be big so I can take her on runs, so I can do all this with her. I'm like, I completely get it, but
Yeah.
you're gonna miss when she's small. I also think that she's going to be a giant lap dog. She's only supposed to get between 50 and 60 pounds. I think she's going to be bigger because she's got giant paws.
Yeah.
But I also think she's going to try to sit on me at 60 pounds because that's what she does now. So,
Yeah, that's what my dog does, and she's pushing 100. So
that's sweet.
yeah, but so another question about like being a lawyer and stuff. Like, what do you think that anyone could be a lawyer? Like, or does it take something special?
That's a hard question.
Like, is it just something that you have to study for, or do you need something else?
So I would say that to be a really good lawyer, you do need something else.
Yeah.
Like lawyers, if you just want to do your job and like you understand how to make arguments, like just to like formulate a like reasonable argument, I think you can do it. But the best lawyers like think like 5 steps ahead. Like they're thinking about their argument, but they're also thinking about like the counter argument and the minute like other argument that could be made over here, and then they have something to counter that. So the best lawyers I've seen are really prepared, think really quickly on their feet. So in that respect, I think you do need to be a really good lawyer, you do have to have kind of like that special, like really quick, like mental, like capacity to be like, okay, counter this point, like quickly. But anybody can read and kind of like apply something. Like I think if you're analytical enough, like you can apply the facts to the law, then you can do that. But some people's brains just don't work that way.
Yeah.
So, like for me, like I've always, liked English and understood English in a way that like, because a lot of the things that turn a case on it, being different from another case is that there's like this one word in the statute means something different when you apply it here. Like you just have to be able to think about all of the different angles or like all of the different ways that argument can be made.
Yeah.
So my stepdad, when I was like worried about going to law school, he was like, "Oh, it's just applying facts to a fact pattern. Like it's just writing and you can do it." And, he made it seem very simple, but it's not that simple,
Yeah.
But he always used to say he was a terrible student. Like he didn't like to read. He didn't like to do homework. Like he was a terrible student from what I've gathered. He graduated and, that's fine. Like and I like being a student. So for me, it's like, I like doing those things because I can check marks off my task list. Like I love making lists, and I love putting a check mark next to the things I do. Even like small things like, oh, I need to empty the trash. It's on my list.
Yeah.
Like check it off. But my stepdad, he's the type of person that thinks really well on his feet. And he does, I mean, he's not a litigating lawyer, so he doesn't like go to court.
Right.
But he works with clients of like in the trust world. So a lot of, like estates and a lot of like old money type stuff, or people who have a lot of money and they want to like protect it or save it or do whatever they want to do with it. And so, he's like the type of person who is really well spoken, can think quickly on their feet, whereas I'm not as well spoken and I can't think as quickly on my feet. Sometimes like words escape my brain and I'm like,
Oh, same.
But I could write it out on paper. Like I could write you like a 10-page motion and it'll sound great, but arguing it out loud, like that's the one thing about the legal field that I am concerned about, because I haven't had an opportunity to oral argue as much as, I would have if the pandemic and Zoom school didn't happen. And so those are the things that I am concerned about, but so we will see. I don't know. So in short, in long, that question is hard to answer because I do think to be a really good lawyer, you do have to have a little bit something else. So.
Yeah, because, I mean, you look at Ted Bundy, you know what I mean? I mean, he had a whole nother life. He could have been a great lawyer.
Yeah.
But then he decided he wanted to kill a bunch of people. So he did.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But, I mean, that's the kind of thing that fascinates me.
Yeah.
It's just like, I've watched so many different documentaries on his story, and the things that he came up with is just like, I was like, dude, you were so smart.
Yeah.
Like, why? But then he also had this chemical imbalance that made him do the things that he did.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the craziest part. And that's, another reason why I liked psychology so much is because the mind is so powerful. It's like almost scary, and so psychology wasn't really taken as seriously as of a science as other sciences have been. But I think people are starting to get it. Like, the brain is really, really powerful, like in so many ways. It's just, I mean, a lot of it's chemical, obviously, because, if you got bit by a shark, your adrenaline would pump and you like kind of wouldn't be able to feel it enough to get away. You know what I mean? But you stub your toe and it's the worst pain of your life because it's like not life threatening, but it's like your brain's like, you didn't need adrenaline for that. So good luck. So it's just crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, like I was listening to something and it was, I forget what it was. It might have been like something on Joe Rogan, and they were talking about being under pressure and how, back in, say, like the Native American times, like living there, they don't know what pressure is. They don't have to deal with that, So as we evolve and as we, create more things and just become the kind of people we are now, I think that's why we're seeing a whole bunch of anxiety, depression, suicide, all this kind of stuff because of all the pressure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And our bodies aren't made for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's those chemical responses, that tell us like, oh, we need to do this, and then everyone's is going to be different. Mm-hmm. It's just, I mean, it's just the craziest thing. But I mean, another question I had was, is it in law school? Is there a camaraderie or is it like competitive?
So I would say it's definitely competitive. For me personally, I found a group of people who, we do have a lot of camaraderie. Like we love each other. We want to help each other get like through it because we're all like, this sucks, and like, you want to help push your friends through it. And so like, if you have a good outline and you found one or somebody shared it with you, like I'm going to share it with my friends because that for me personally is like, if they're doing well, I'm doing well too. That's not the case with everyone. Like, and I can't speak to, they call them gunners in law school. They're like the people who are like, they want to raise their hand for every question and they want to show off that they like read the case 17 times. And I'm like, I can barely get through all of the reading that I'm doing. Like, you had time to reread that case. Anyway, so there are definitely people like that.
Yeah.
But it's not me.
No, that's a good thing.
It's not me.
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think that puts a target on people's backs. Like, if you're honestly in law school, a target's always on your back. Like, if you don't care but you get good grades, or you care too much and you get good grades, or you don't get good grades, or whatever. Like, people are always trying to like find a reason to tear you down, but it's not going to be me. I want to see all of the people that, I'm friends with in law school succeed, so that we can, all have law practices and we can all. Hi, puppy dog. You want to say hi? Come here.
Oh, I like how her face is all dark and then the rest of her body's like kind of spotted.
Yeah, it's like different type of patterns in GSPs, and like this like white speckling is called ticking, and like with championship dogs, like ticking is a good thing. I don't know. I don't really know exactly, but also we found out that like light eyes are more susceptible to like having issues. So even though her eyes are really pretty and I love them, I kind of hope they turn brown so that like there's less of a chance that she'll have issues with them.
Yeah.
I think he was going to take her out, and then he was like, I guess I'll just let her be. Say hi. Say hi.
She does have a lot of energy. She's ready to go.
Yeah. You taking her out?
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, baby. She's really good so far, though. Like, she does listen. She just gets crazy, and that part of it's hard because her energy is like way too much sometimes, especially because like, I have school, he's working, so it's like, but.
So how have you been stress wise? Like being one being in the pandemic, and then two, like being in law school. So those two gotta be tough.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely been hard. This year specifically has been really hard. So like obviously March was the pandemic, and then in April we found out my mom's breast cancer had metastasized, so it made it no longer curable. And so that like part of it was stressful. I had a lot of really good professors last semester who were like, it was pass fail number one, so that helped because I just had to get through it. And I mean I know for a fact that if it wasn't pass fail, I probably wouldn't have done well at all last semester. I was barely reading. I was taking care of my mom because she deteriorated quickly. So I was kind of in charge of her care, which again is a good thing that the pandemic happened, because otherwise I would have been at work or at school, and we would have had to probably hire someone. So the fact that I could give her the care as opposed to somebody random was good. And then this semester is different because I only have 2 classes, and then I have the externship. So it's less stressful because I have only 2 classes, and then I have a judge who I work for. She knew my mom, so she, understands that I'm going through a lot right now. And so she's been really helpful. She obviously like gives me work to do, but she's not like jumping down my throat. She's not, she's a human, and she understands that, this is a really hard time in my life. So I do think because I've had so much help and so much, support, that I'm doing pretty well considering everything.
Good. Yeah.
But I know, now we do have grades again. So I'm going to get graded for, how well I do in this class and how well I do in all my classes. And so that adds another element of stress, that, I didn't have last semester, but now I do. And I'm taking 2 business courses. So I'm taking bankruptcy law, and I'm taking business organizations. So learning about LLCs and corporations and stuff like that, which for me personally is boring. So it's a little bit like eyes glaze over. Like I'm like, okay, like
Yeah,
People
I
have
know.
businesses.
I have an LLC, and I had to like learn a little bit about it, and I was like trying not to fall asleep.
Yeah, like all of the, organizing papers, and
Oh my gosh,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
it
So, and
is.
Delaware is really big for corporate law and business,
Mm-hmm.
the business world. So it was an important class for me to take, so that when I take the bar, it won't be all new to me when I'm learning it, but it's definitely like a lot harder to get through. Like last semester, I had criminal procedure, and that was really interesting for me. And I was like, oh, okay, criminal law, back in my like comfortable zone.
Yeah. So when is the bar? Is that after you finish school?
Yeah,
Okay.
so the bar for Delaware only happens once a year. It's held in July. It's a pretty hard bar. So I think the last time they took it, which would be July 2019, because they canceled it this year, the passage rate was 52%. So it's pretty low passage rate, but Delaware's a really unique jurisdiction, and it's a really hard bar for that reason. So I will take it in July, and then I'm planning to take Pennsylvania's bar in February 2022, because they have reciprocity with a lot of states. And so if I decide I want to move, I just have to, pass like the character and fitness and a couple other like state specific requirements. But in 14 other states, I wouldn't have to take the bar exam again. So
That's cool. I'm really proud of you that you like do all this stuff.
thank you.
It's
Thank
not
you.
it's not an easy thing. I don't think I know anyone that like is trying to be like except for you, like being a lawyer or a doctor or anything like that. Like, and that's why I wanted to talk to you to know the ins and outs of it, because it just
Yeah.
seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot, but I think in the end it'll be worth it. I hope. I'm
Oh,
hopeful
definitely. Yeah,
that it'll all be worth it.
yeah, it
Um,
definitely will. You know,
yeah,
but yeah. So thank you so much for coming on, and I
yeah.
hope you feel better.
Thank you. I do. I actually do feel better talking to you.
Oh,
I took
good.
Tylenol though, so I think that broke whatever I was feeling in my throat. So I'm like, okay, but I'm supposed to go like to my friend's birthday party this weekend, and I'm like trying to I don't think this is I don't
Yeah.
know, because I don't feel good and I don't want to get anyone sick. So
Right.
waiting on that COVID test to see, not me, but my friends to see, what's good. But
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do. You know.
yeah.
But yeah, I hope you just stay strong through the pandemic, and then hopefully this thing ends sometime. I'm
I hope
tired of
so
it.
too. It
I'm
was
tired.
good talking to you.
Yeah, you too. And then I have to get you on again once you become a lawyer and start doing some serious criminal stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Sounds like a
right.
good
All right,
plan.
Carol. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Have a good
All
day.
right, you too.